Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I am David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. That's a long Bruce tonight.
I tend to save those for the big wins, Bruce.
Yes,
I'd like to
indeed.
savor the savor. That's one of the rituals of savoring a big victory, I think.
This was one of those for sure. One of those for sure.
Was it ever? Was it ever? And it was a game where you might argue the Oilers got outplayed slightly in the flow of play. The grade A shots were 12-7 for Boston. But the 5 alarm shots, so the grade A shots go on average 25% of the time. There's a subset of 5 alarm shots that go on about 33% of the time. And there was only 5 of those all game long, and the Oilers had 3 of them, and Boston had 2 of them. So the Oilers had the edge in the most dangerous of chances. So it was very, the expected goals was fairly close, but Boston I think would have had a higher expected goals in that game by a slight amount. I don't know what the...
Well, I'm just about to give you that because I do find this interesting. This is very strange for me. Boston had 54% of the shot attempts, 56% of the shots, 56% of the scoring chances, 56% of the high danger chances. This all as for natural stat trick.
Yeah.
And yet it was Edmonton that had 56% of the expected goals. They had the score at 3.02 to 2.39, including in the third period, an advantage of 2.05 for Edmonton and 0.6 for Boston, which is basically what happened in the third period. Edmonton got 2 and they got 0. So their expected goals somehow, even though all the other stats were a little twisted the other way, so there must be sort of some kind of 5 alarm chance or something that they factor in, where they just call it a high danger chance, but it's a better one than the other ones.
I don't know how they do
breakaway, or Edmonton did have a couple that missed the net, and of course, natural stat trick doesn't much care about that. They care about the shot and where it's coming from, and whether. And we only credit one. So Fogle, for all of his 140-foot sprint, got no credit for a scoring chance because he fired it wide.
Well, we don't measure scoring chances. We measure grade A shots on net. Grade A shots. We measure shots. So that's how we decided to do. We figured, for a number of reasons which I won't get into now. That's where we've ended up. And there's no right or wrong in this. I don't think. There's just two different ways of viewing hockey. And the smartest people who have, the guy who came up with this system, Roger Nielsen, shifted back and forth. I understand. In his career and his understanding of what he wanted to count. Yeah, I believe that's the case. All right.
When you're counting them defensively, you want to count every look that the other team gets, whether they hit the net or not, right? When you're counting them offensively, you're cheesed off at the guy who missed the net that you just don't want to count it. And so there's no sort of perfect yin and yang way to do it that's going to get everything right. But I think we're consistent in terms of applying the same at both ends. So that's the important thing.
I think now that we're into it, I think most NHL teams who have used this system, and many have used this system over the past decades, this kind of video analysis was common. I don't know what's common now, but was common with NHL teams. All the disciples of Roger Nielsen did this. And one of them, Tom Rennie, was the coach who convinced me, no, a missed shot you shouldn't count. And here's why. When you get a great chance at the offensive end and your guy misses the net, it is a huge downer for your team. Right. It is not a good thing. It is a negative. And you should never count that as a positive thing in a game because it's not. Now, as you say, though, from the defensive end, you're the coach and you want to see anytime they have a good look, you're mad and you're upset. And
Warren Fogle got a breakaway, whether he hit the net or not. If you're the Boston coach, you're going, how the hell did Warren Fogle get a breakaway?
Exactly. You're the Edmonton coach and you're thinking... Where are you? Anyway,
I actually have. Those are the kind of ones I have to look up in the play-by-play, because sometimes the goalie on the shot stick side, especially, it just ticks the very outside of his blocker and it changes direction by 3 degrees or something. But it's the difference between inside the post and outside. So I'll give that a hard look and actually make sure how they scored it in Boston when I review the chances here tomorrow. But as of now, they're sort of preliminary chances that David has recorded, and I have not yet checked.
Reviewed, as you do every game, and then
Yes.
it's one of the checks we have on our system to make sure it's a little bit less subjective, and at least two people are giving input. And all right, Bruce, our two good things, two bad things, and two numbers podcast segment of the podcast begins now. And I'll start it off because my first good thing, we're going to go with two good things each because it was a huge win for the Oilers, is the Edmonton's first goal.
Okay.
A 4-on-1 caused by a Boston player losing control of the puck. And just when it looked like the Oilers were never going to score, and Boston had put together a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 grade A shots in a row. 9 grade A shots in a row. They were up 2-0. The Oilers had a couple grade A shots early on, but Boston got 9 in a row. Oilers weren't getting anything.
Oh, they were all over the Oilers. Boston was playing really fantastic hockey for a big chunk of this game.
They are a fantastic defensive hockey team. I really give them credit. Like the best defensive hockey team I've seen this year, easily. So there's a mistake by the Bruins defender, and yet Matthias Janmark picks up the puck, and it's a 4-on-1. And thankfully, the player he passes it to on that 4-on-1 is Evan Bouchard, who, although he hasn't scored in forever, like it must be 27 years now in his long life that he has not scored a goal.
44 games, David.
44
That's
games.
a long time.
That is, especially someone who shoots like him. But anyway,
scoring defender.
He had one taken away the other night. But anyway, that was just
coming.
But it was coming, and he fired that puck home. Man, did he get off a good shot! And it's exactly who you want to have shooting from that range. From that range, I'd say he's the Edmonton Oilers player most likely to score because he's kind of just above. He's in the high slot area. And I'm talking like from not having a one-timer, just going in and shooting. I would pick him to shoot over Draisaitl or McDavid.
Wow,
I would pick him to shoot, especially for someone who's only scored hasn't scored in 40 games.
Well, let's just say that between them, McDavid and Draisaitl have scored about 75 goals since the last time Bouchard got one. But okay.
Now that you put it that way, I retract my statement, Your Honor. Were you lying then or are you lying now? All right. Yeah, Bruce, since Tyson Barrie's been traded, Evan Bouchard has been transformed. Like literally, he's a different player. And I don't know exactly why that is. It could just be the confidence of playing with a veteran like Matthias Ekholm again. Might have just really, like the size of Ekholm, the smarts of Ekholm, the intensity, the hitting of Ekholm, like everything that Ekholm brings. Like maybe that's really, it could be the beard. Whatever it is, we don't know. But it could be that. Or it could be just the confidence that the franchise showed in him by moving. There have been lots of talk that he may have heard of, Bruce, about Erik Karlsson coming into Edmonton and Evan Bouchard going to San Jose. That was the talk of the internet for 3 or 4 weeks. And, everyone was kind of had their head around it. We all agreed, that would probably make sense. And if he may have heard that kind of thing. So suddenly Tyson Barrie's traded, Erik Karlsson's not coming into town. Matthias Ekholm is traded for. Huge boost of confidence. He's elevated to the top power play. He starts to do well there. The power play is clipping along just fine, actually, with him running it. It seems to be about the same as before. And he just seems to have that extra zip in his game. He's a little bit more physical. And he's definitely more chipper with the puck and on the attack. He just seems to be that much. He's into it. And it looks like he feels like he's the man and he's going to make plays, and he made one there.
Yeah, he sure did. And he actually held the puck for the right amount of time, and he didn't sort of try and just, touch it on to somebody else because it was 4-on-1. Often the team will overpass it in that situation. Yeah. And he got into a position where he could see his spot, and he just drilled it right into it. Great shot. And it was a long overdue goal from an Oilers defenseman, which, not counting Tyson Barrie, who isn't here anymore, no Oilers defenseman currently on the team has scored a goal in calendar 2023, except for Ekholm, who scored some in Nashville, but not in Edmonton. So it's been a long, long time since the other D-men besides Barrie found twine. We'll talk about that again in just a minute. But that was a poor play by Boston to cause the jailbreak, but well executed and really good shot by Bouchard. Such a nice sign to. And as you say, he's been getting. I mean, he got like just a multiple boost of confidence. No, you didn't get traded, Evan. In fact, you're getting promoted to the second pairing. Oh yeah, we brought in a top-notch left pairing veteran D-man to lock things down and get you the puck. And oh yeah, you're on our first power play unit now. We think you're ready. We know it's been a kind of long build, but we think you're ready to go. And you just need this opportunity. Run with it. That's kind of the impression I'm getting, and he's just lifted his confidence, his game. He just seems more involved. He still makes mistakes, but it's not like he's wandering around in the red light zone, on a coffee break or whatever. He's more engaged, and I love to see it.
Yeah, tonight it was the Nurse Cece pair that had the more that was out there for more grade A shots against than the Ekholm Bouchard pair. I felt more confident actually. Personally, just watching the game, I felt more confident when Ekholm and Bouchard were on the game than I did when Cece and Nurse were out on the ice. It feels like though, Bruce, the Oilers kind of have a top four now though, and
yes, definitely
two pairings which can kind of vie to be the number one pairing on any given night, and that is a huge change for this team. They're not the the most elite top pairings in the NHL, obviously not. But they do have these two defensive duos. Bruce, what is your good thing first?
Yeah, my first good thing, I think, just the physicality of this game. I thought it stood out. Not that there was a million hits in this game. There was 33 for Boston and 31 for Edmonton. Goodly numbers. But I thought that the hitting was very intense and heavy. There were some really big body blows landed in this game. I thought they were fair, really, on both sides of the puck. Matthias Ekholm, holy moly, did he ever rattle David Krejci on the sidewall in the first period? It just absolutely just followed right through on the check and just hit him hard and took him down and out. It didn't hurt him, and it just was. The guy was already on the board. He didn't board him. He just hit him to finish the check there. And that was one that stood out. And he had 6 to lead both teams, tied with Dmitry Orlov, who had a great game for Boston and had also 6 hits. One of them I thought was dirty, but them being Boston, there was no penalty being called.
Yeah, that hit on Zach Hyman should have been a penalty. It was like 2 steamboats after Hyman had gotten rid of the puck, and that was not right. Like, that was a dangerous play on Orlov's part, and it should have been penalized, especially considering the penalty that Evander Kane took shortly before then, which was
for shoving the guy.
Shoving guy who's trying to block your way, like trying to interfere with you as you're trying to get to the puck, and you're actually just pushing by him because he's moved into your lane. He's a moving pick. Yeah, that one.
I called it holding. I think the ref saw him grabbing the sweater and pulling the guy down. I just thought he'd give him a little push, but he went down like. Well, I won't finish
Brad
that
Marchand
statement. Yeah.
I love Marchand.
Anyway.
Get that penalty call. All right, that wasn't Bruce. That was the most that was the hardest fought game I think I've seen all year.
It was pitch warfare at times, eh?
Even when the Oilers were down like 2-0, they did not give up. They were battling, and they were, even when Boston was having that great run of grade A shots that I referred to earlier. It's not like Edmonton wasn't trying; they were really trying hard.
Oh.
They were giving everything they had, and that was fantastic to see. The Oilers team have that kind of effort because. Those are pretty tough plays that gave Boston the 2-0 lead. My second good thing, Bruce, is the Oilers' second goal. Derek, in particular on that play, Derek Ryan, and outside of that own hit on Connor McDavid, which McDavid was looking the other way. So it was just a really unfortunate play. Thank goodness McDavid wasn't hurt.
The thing is, McDavid got up.
Yeah, I'm not blaming Ryan for that. These things happen in hockey. It's just part of it's a fast game and a dangerous game, and that
Oh,
happens. But
my heart was in my throat.
everybody's so was McDavid's for a second, I
Hmm.
think.
Ryan's
Anyway,
too. He looked terrified. I saw in the replay.
yeah, Derek, he always
I
looks a
did
little.
that.
Derek Ryan is like what 5'10", 170. He's always a little terrified of this. Bruce, I just thought he played fantastic tonight, and he has been for some time. He's part of a group of Oilers, along with Devon Shore and Klim Kostin and Brett Kulak, who in this calendar year just really picked up their play. And he he is such a smart hockey player when you watch him closely. He knows how to stay on the right side of the player defensively, like even in the offensive end, even on the back check. When a lot of players aren't thinking that, he is always thinking out there. And he was thinking on this play. The puck gets shot into the Boston end, and or by a Boston player actually. He dumps it in inadvertently, and it goes into their own end. And Ryan chases after it, puts some pressure on the defenseman who throws it up the boards, and it's picked up by Devon Shore, who makes an absolutely pass, fantastic pass to Ryan McLeod, who makes an absolutely fantastic finish. But it's still not it might not be a goal, but old Derek Ryan has charged over to the net.
Hmm.
After forcing the puck on the boards, he's gone right to the net and he's screening the goalie.
Hmm.
And his screen is crucial to that goal. All three offensive players
Hmm.
execute it perfectly. Shore's pass was fantastic. McLeod shot really fast, and Ryan's screen. But I just think,
Ryan's forecheck and then a screen.
yeah, he's a smart hockey player,
Hmm.
and I never would have thought this, but there's a chance they're going to resign this guy,
Yeah. Oh, sure.
depending on what happens in the playoffs, of course. Like all
Yeah.
these guys really depends what happens in the playoffs, like especially Shore
Hmm.
and Ryan for contracts and Costin to a certain extent as well. If they come up big and have a big playoffs, they're definitely coming back, of course. But even based on Ryan's run in the regular season, he's making a strong candidacy for another contract.
Shore and Janmark and also Bugstad that are all on expiring contracts that are
Yeah.
potentially UFA. Let's just put it this way: I'd be surprised if the Oilers let all four of them walk away. That they'll probably sign. I'll guess two of the four will get signed before free agency. Of those four veteran forwards that are all sort of 30 years old, been around for 400 or 500 games.
Well, I predicted the Oilers are going to win the Stanley Cup, Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say three out of the four because if that
Okay, well,
happens, three
they're
out of the
just
four.
going to bring the whole team back then.
Well, they probably as much as possible, but you need some turnover, right? You gotta change things over a little bit. Uh your second good thing is.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the game-winning goal, and it was again a second goal in this game scored by an Oilers defenseman after a long, long drought of goal scoring. They're still getting the odd apple from the assistant. In the end, I suppose it doesn't matter who gets, but it's nice to have a threat from the back end. And Bouchard certainly was that, jumping into the play and firing a great shot. And this one, Nurse, who was credited with the goal, was doing. They cycled the puck. I think Draisaitl won it on the other side, or even the Yamamoto was involved in the winning of the puck, and Draisaitl fired it back to the point. CC made a good play there to keep it alive and chip it over to Nurse, and he just fired it into a screen. And Nugent Hopkins being the main screener, and I think Yamamoto was also coming in. And I just don't think Jeremy Swayman ever saw the puck. And
He
the screen
didn't.
came through, and at the puck, I mean, if we were grading it from a Boston perspective, we might call that a grade B goal. We count it as grade A because of the screen. We see that the goalie
Yeah.
was unsighted and it's a difficult shot. Still, I'm surprised it didn't just hit him because he was pulled over to one side and he kind of got beat, looked like short side, and looked like there was like 1 or 2 feet of room there. And Nurse's relatively innocuous outside shot, but because of the movement of the puck and the chaos in front of the net, became a dangerous shot and a goal. And in the end, that turned out, of course, to be the game-winning goal. And nice to see. I mean, it's all those guys. It's nice to score, even if that's not your main job. It's nice to get one once in a while. And both those guys got off a lengthy schneid, if that's not a non sequitur, tonight with their respective goals. And Nurse played almost 25 minutes, 5 shots, 3 hits, 3 block shots, very engaged in the game. The usual, he got beat a couple of times. And the usual, he won a few battles just by being a superior athlete, skater, strength battle, speed battle. And I thought handled the puck pretty good behind his own blue line. But anyway, whoever scores, what you want is for your team to score. And the fact that Connor McDavid didn't score, and the Oilers still managed to score enough to beat the first place Boston Bruins right in their own barn, especially coming from behind the way they did, is a really encouraging victory for the club tonight.
Just trying to find Nurse's even strength points here.
He's always about 1 every 2 games. He's very consistent. Points
his stats this year. He's got in 66 games, he's got 34 points, 7 goals and 27 assists. He's plus 20.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's pretty normal. He topped out he got 41 in 82 games. Nurse, and he's always just seemed to hang right around that 1 point every 2 games, and barely any of them are power play points. They don't use them much on the PP, so he's getting
especially
points,
this year,
largely 5-on-5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially this year, he hasn't had much on the power play at all. So let me see if I can find
the second unit hasn't scored at all. Like literally, they have no goals.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good one. But I got another number for my number, but this one is ongoing.
My bad thing, Bruce, is the first goal against. I'll go with that. It was the Oilers had come out. They had the first grade A shot on net. Ryan McLeod got that. It was a tip shot. I don't really remember the play, but Shore and Bouchard were involved in it. Anyway, the Oilers are putting all kinds of pressure on early in the game. And Boston, the puck kind of there's a line change and McDavid comes on the ice, and the puck kind of goes by him. He's not right on the. I was wondering if he let it go by him because he was afraid of a too many men penalty call. Like he was a little slow to it, I thought. And Desharnais has been beaten through the middle zone by Marchand, who hops on the puck, but Marchand just kind of hops on it. He gets it on the wing and he just throws it. A fairly hard but outside shot. It's outside the dots. It's outside that'd be the left face-off dot. It's a grade B scoring chance shot at best, and Skinner lets it in, and it's like, I just think what is going on with the Oilers goaltending? They need league average goaltending. If they're going to compete in the playoffs. They don't need to have the best goal in the ice to win, the Edmonton Oilers, but they need to have league average goaltending, which is like, I don't know, what is that, a 9-10 save percentage this year? It might even be a lower. I think it's lower.
It's lower. It's more closer to 905.
905 this year, yeah. It's kind of amazing how the shooting percentages have gone up this year. In any case,
I blame the streamlined equipment. I think there's more goals going through the holes inside the goalie's arms and stuff.
Good.
But
good.
It's just a theory.
Yeah, could be that. And anyway, it was quite unlike Skinner. He hasn't blown a lot of shots this year. But that was certainly one of them, and it was just very deflating, especially against Boston, especially with the Oilers off to a good start in a tough game. So it was not a good moment, and we've had too many of those moments, Bruce. It's getting a little old. So
yeah, it was like the puck was in Boston's territory for about 3 minutes and 40 seconds, and in Edmonton territory for about 3.4 seconds, and it was in the net. Marchand just comes in on this innocuous kind of play and shoots from over there, and went in. As I saw it, it hit Skinner on the inside of the blocker, somehow bounced down, seemed to catch his other leg in behind the pad, and so it took a double bounce and back into the net. And I said to my mom, to my wife, that puck took more bounces than the magic bullet. This was going all over, but eventually it did the damage.
So, Bruce, I just to quickly get back to Nurse because I found the number I was looking for. He, in terms of defensemen regular defensemen in the NHL who have played at least 400 minutes 5-on-5. So these are serious defensemen getting a lot of ice time. Darnell Nurse ranks 25th for even strength points per 60. 25th. He's ahead.
Higher than that.
He's just ahead of Victor Hedman and Hampus Lindholm, and just behind Devon Taves and Gustav Forsling of Florida. So he's starting to get the numbers that look like top pairing D-man numbers. Is the truth. His time on ice and his usage numbers. The only thing that doesn't align with that is the power play. What's your bad thing, Bruce?
Yeah, over the last 5 years, Nurse is 9th in the NHL in even strength points. So he's actually a little bit low.
For D-men, yeah. Really?
So sandwiched between Erik Karlsson and Dougie Hamilton.
Darnell Nurse.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Darnell can't make a pass, Nurse.
He is a high event player. I will say
he's a high event player. He doesn't make all of the passes, but he certainly makes some of the passes. The fact that he misses one doesn't mean he misses all of the other ones. That's the part that gets my goat when it becomes a.
And I'm encouraged with him too. We talked about this the other day. It's like he looks healthy and he's really skating well. And when he cranks it up for the playoffs and brings
and he's going to benefit from Ekholm being here too, big time.
Oh yeah.
Like there's going to be way more equitable sharing of the toughest minutes. I can only think that now the coaches have got a real. All along, people were saying, well, Kulak, he is not looking like a second pairing defenseman. Well, Matthias Ekholm sure looks like one. In fact, he kind of looks like a 1A, and I don't care which order they play in. If they can both play 20 minutes a night at a high level, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and this when Duncan Keith retired, I was relieved because I didn't, that was a big cap hit, and that was a really big cap hit, and you'd expect further deterioration. And he had been good in the playoffs until Colorado, and then he kind of got exposed a little bit along with some of the team or the rest of the team or all of the team. But he really had played well. He had really played well in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, Duncan Keith, and had been a stalwart and had been he had been a top 4 D-man with Bouchard in those first 2 rounds. So they didn't have that when he left. They were missing that from the lineup, and they were hoping Kulak could step up. It didn't happen to the extent that it was needed to happen, and now it's coming on. Are we on your bad thing? Yeah, we're on your.
Yeah, well, I'm going to stick to the trend. We're going to actually talk about all 5 goals tonight because I'm sure we're going to take that second Boston goal. It came with 0.2 seconds to go in the first period with what seemed like a controlled play where Boston dumped the puck in with about 8 seconds to go, and Stu Skinner came out and fielded the puck, and he took behind the net and he held it while the clock ticked down, 6 or even 5 seconds, and then he tried to fire it by the nearest Bruin, who of course knocked it down out of the air, and chaos ensued from there. And Nurse and Ceci were out, as they often are in the last minute. And Nurse came so close to poking the puck off the guy's stick twice. He touched the puck or the end of the guy's stick, and somehow the guy was able to control it. And then Nuge floated a little bit to one side of where he'd been, and the passing lane opened up. And boom, the pass went into the slot to Pasternak, wasn't it?
Yeah, the wrong guy.
And, and Pasternak, I don't think it was that great of a shot. Like, I thought really Skinner should have had the shot, especially seeing as how he kind of owed the team a save at that moment after just having coughed the puck up. But no save, and that was just a real kick in the junk, that second goal. Like, all those things happen. The goalie coughs up the puck. They kind of slide one through them. There's 0.2. They got to check the clock. They win, and just 2-0 down. And, Boston had, I think it was a 2.08 goals against average going into this game. So you're down 2 goals, and a third of the game is over, and you got to get at least 2 and shut them out the rest of the way. Well, odds were not in Edmonton's favor, as we'll talk about more in a minute. But it was that night in the season where the unlikeliness happened, and they were able to not only pull all the way back, but win it outright in regulation. Kind of like what they did in Madison Square Garden way back when they came back with that 3-0
last year
deficit in the third period. This was in November,
Okay.
I think, when the
Okay. Last
time Bouchard scored, David.
Oh yeah, the
think it was.
McLeod.
Oh well,
McLeod
maybe
had a
not.
good
He
game
scored.
too.
Yeah, he scored the 2 goals in that game. Then he scored in the next game, and then he hasn't scored since. Anyway, it just didn't seem like it was in the cards, and they just kind of hung around.
It shows Bruce.
And Stuart Skinner hung around. I mean, we're dumping on him for the 2 goals. He didn't let in any more after that. He slammed the door, so credit where due.
Yeah, fair enough, Bruce. That's a good point. Excellent point. It shows just how discombobulating a turnover is. Like, of all the mistakes players make, turnovers are the worst, because no one knows where the other guys are then, right? They've all got their mind on offense, which they should have. Like, they're all thinking, they're NHL players. They're thinking 1 or 2 steps ahead, or they're in the moment of the play. And suddenly everything's like blink, and it's changed. Everything's changed. And so Nurse doesn't attack. Like, there's CC and Nugent Hopkins in the slot. Nurse could have actually just attacked Krejci, but he doesn't know that.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that because there's a guy, he senses a player behind him, and so he's backing off he backs off a little, then he moves a little, and he doesn't know that he's got the time, he's got cover to go after Krejci. And Nugent Hopkins,
they're all watching the puck.
He's also looking at the puck, and he's looking at the guy going to the net, and CC and he are kind of like, oh, he's got that guy near the net, and boom, the low high pass to the guy, Pasternak, one of the best shooters in the NHL, in the slot, gets off a one-timer, and it's a goal. And it's Skinner's turnover. And Bruce, that kind of, like, I thought there was no way the Oilers were coming back at that point, because not only have they given up the weak goal early in the game, which is usually the kiss of death for a team,
right? But
then they give up the goal right at the end of the period, which is utterly demoralizing for a team as well. These 2 things happen all at once. And so credit to Skinner and the rest of the Oilers, because they kept working hard. They really did battle back in a way that I guess they've been doing it fairly regularly. They're used to that, because they always often give up 2 goal leads, or they did earlier in the year. It's faded a bit as the Oilers have gotten better, but they did it again, and that was a huge play. Hey, Bruce, I just want to go back quickly to the third goal, because I don't know. Did you mention Draisaitl's great? He won the puck there. Yeah. Beside the net, and so that was a great play by Leon, and then he threw the puck back hard to the blue line, because he was under a lot of pressure. He just won the puck, and it was a skirmish, and he fired it back. And CC then made a nice play too, because he had to stab the puck down on his backhand, control the puck, and move it over to Nurse. And it's a play that you expect an NHL player to make. Nonetheless, it was a very nice play by Cody CC to control that pass and get it over to Nurse.
Yes, it was. So. And the only way to beat these guys was to cycle the puck cleanly and fast enough to get room to get a shot away. And that's basically what they did there. They whipped the puck around pretty good, even though the pass wasn't perfect. They need sometimes 2 or even 3 one-touch passes to find a guy with enough room to do something with it.
Yeah.
And no need to make any of those passes to Connor McDavid, because he's going to be covered before he gets the pass. Boy, there was one sequence tonight I was just kind of burning. It was McDavid starting in his own corner, and by the time he got to center, he had to run the gauntlet through 3 different Bruins, which would have been fine had he had the puck at any moment during that entire sequence. But it was 3 different Boston forwards came over to sort of just make him change his route, one after the other, and the third one sort of just guided him right into the boards, and that was sort of clear-cut interference, but they didn't call it. And it was frustrating, but a lot of it was just very, very skilled defense by the Bruins. Like, there's one play where Leon went behind the net with the puck, and he tried to throw it back out the side he came from to Yamamoto to jam it in from the side of the net. And there was a Bruin guy all over Yamamoto lifting his stick and just making sure nothing came of it. And you'd think, that surprise attack, you might get an open guy. They had it figured out. So all that said, somehow there was enough cracks in there for Edmonton to light the lamp 3 times and not give up any more goals. So we have to take those 2 points and run.
Bruce, my number is 1. So Connor McDavid had just 1 shot on net all game long. He was -1 when it came to official goals, plus minus. And we track grade A shots, major contributions to grade A shots. Connor McDavid, who averages about between 6 and 7 major contributions to grade A shots per game. It's closer to 7 this year. Haven't added it up in a while. He had just 1 of those as well. So Boston really did a fantastic and generally legal job of taking Connor McDavid out of the play. They just do what a great defensive team should do, a smart defensive team where everyone I think on that team takes it almost, well, not even almost. I think everyone on that team who's been there for a while and is going to stay on that team understands their top priority is defensive hockey, and even more so than scoring. They all play strong defensive hockey, and this team's kind of looking like the the New York Islanders of the early 1980s in that regard. That was another team that had some real talent on it, but man, those guys just worked like demons on defense. They were so aggressive and so disciplined. So disciplined, and that's what I see with the Bruins. In the 2 viewings I've had of them so far this year, that kind of defensive intensity, which I have not seen, I don't think, from any other NHL team. That level of, it's pretty rare, and it's hard. It's easy to imagine Boston getting to the finals, and my only hope is by then it's an older team, and I'm just hoping like the grind of the playoffs will have worn that team down considerably by then, which I think is a realistic possibility.
Well, I only care how ground down they are if they're playing Edmonton, but that would be nice.
They will. All right. What is your number, Bruce?
Okay, well, I'm going to go on with the Jack Michael's curse numbers from this game, and thankfully this time he cursed the other team by repeatedly mentioning how they were 28-0-1 when they led after the first period, meaning they got 57 of a possible 58 points when leading after the first period. And I'm going, well, you're saying there's a chance. Then after leading after the second period, 35-0-2. They played 37 games, and they lost 2 in extra time, gimmick time, and they won the other 35. And so they gave up 2 points in 37 such games. Well, tonight they gave up 2 points in 1 game that they led after the second period and came away with nothing. And that's the first time it's happened to this fantastic Boston Bruins team all year. And the team that did it was the team that's won 6 of its last 7 visits to Boston, the Edmonton Oilers. So a little more credit where due. The boys have had some good success in that building, and they managed to fight their way back tonight and find some more.
It is an amazing story what's happened in Boston, how they've taken a team which I would have thought, given the age of their core players, given the loss of their Zdeno Chara, who was the best, after Chris Pronger, he I think probably the best defenseman in the NHL. Like once Pronger stopped being that defenseman, then it became Zdeno Chara for a while. Maybe Drew Doughty at the same time was in the running. Those 2 guys were battling it out at that time. Who's the best defenseman in the NHL? They lose him, and yet they still their core players are getting they're not young anymore, Bruce. Let me just give you the rundown here.
Bergeron and Krejci.
Bergeron's 37, Krejci's 36, Marchand's 34. That was at the start of the year. I don't know what they are now. I'm just looking at HockeyDB because they do it from the start of the year. So there's such key players or older players. And yeah, it's very. And then they, full credit, they are able to trade for players like Hampus Lindholm, Pavel Zacha. We're not seeing
Those are
Taylor
two.
Hall right now, but we're seeing Charlie Coyle, and these players are good. And
Mhm.
they signed Linus Ullmark as a free agent, so good work by Boston management. And they
Hathaway and Orlov that they added this year, and then
exactly Tyler
also
Bertuzzi.
Bertuzzi. Yeah.
Yeah, so they are low. They have loaded up,
Hmm.
but they do a good job. Like they bring in players like really some really tough bottom line players who are quite strong, like Trent Frederick, and he can really play hockey. Thomas Nosek seems like he's playing well for them, and AJ Greer, like those guys are rough and tumble players. So
Hmm.
that's a really strong team
Wouldn't be the Bruins without a few of those.
indeed. When are they going to throw Stan Jonathan over the boards?
Mm.
John Wensink.
So,
All right, your number, Bruce.
yeah, oh, my number was 35, 0, and
Oh,
2.
that's sorry. Excuse me. Sorry.
So,
Yeah, we've already dealt with it. Yeah.
but if you're going to give me another number, I sure got
Okay.
one.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Just I need to find it again. And this is Edmonton Oilers power play goals. We talked about this briefly earlier. Total number of the power play goals this season by Edmonton, who leads the league with 72 power play goals. I think that adds up to Leon Draisaitl 26, Connor McDavid 18, Zach Hyman 13, Ryan Nugent Hopkins 11, four forwards with over 10 goals, Tyson Berry with 4, and all the rest of the players on the team 0. The first unit has scored all 72 of those 72 power play goals, including, of course, Tyson Berry, who's no longer on the team, but was integral to that first unit throughout most of the season.
That's
Amazing.
that is. I'm going to give another number since, and we were talking about the number of executioner shots by Leon Draisaitl as one-timer
Mm-hmm.
shot,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was just checking. We started tracking like the different types of shots we started tracking it 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in response to Leon Draisaitl. We were trying to
Yeah.
figure, it was in 2018-19, he scored 50 goals or 50 some goals. I
Yeah.
can't remember exactly
50.
how many, 50.
50.
And everyone was saying this isn't sustainable. We heard that a lot that season. This is not sustainable. He's shooting 21%. He's not going to continue to do this. And at the time, both you and I thought, well, there's something different about the way he's scoring. He just seems to have this unstoppable weapon, and maybe, just maybe, because he fires the puck so hard and so accurately, and he doesn't shoot that much. He's very careful in shooting, like he'll hold the puck and make a pass. Maybe this is someone and who's going to have a sustainable high shooting percentage. It has happened in the past, so that's when we started to track this. So I talked about this last podcast, and so I broke it down further, and I found something really kind of interesting in that his shooting percentages has crept up every year the last 4 seasons in terms of this particular one-timer shot from 32% to 43% this year. But his per game, the number of one-timer shots he's getting has crept down. He used to get 0.92 per game, so almost one a game. And now this year he's down to 0.56, and he didn't get one tonight, so it'll be a little lower. So it's almost half of
Mm-hmm.
what he had 4 seasons ago. And clearly what is happening is not on the power play. On the power play, he's getting as many as ever, as far as I can tell. But at even strength, he dropped from having 34 one-timer shots in 71 games in 2019-20, 34 in 71 games. He's got 5 at even strength in 63 games. And his numbers have dropped from that. So I think other teams, especially at even strength, are paranoid, ultra paranoid now about this particular shot. They realize it is sustainable, and they're doing everything they can. And at even strength, they're able to get enough players out there to clog things up that Leon's not able to get off the shot very often at even strength. They've just really tried to, essentially, if Leon's going to beat them, he's not going to beat them that way at even strength. They're gonna have a player who's aware of him, and other players clogging up the middle of the ice, and it's just a rare thing for him to be able to get off his executioner shot at even strength any longer, which is, it's amazing. He's still chugging along, scoring tons of goals. He's finding other ways to score at even strength. He's still getting a lot of goals. He's, if he remains hot, he'll get 50 goals this year. Doesn't get injured, remains hot. Like I think he's on track for that kind of close to that at least. So, but
well, there was
go
something
ahead.
up with him for a while, around between games 40 and 50. Like his number of face-offs dropped. Like he had a lot of nights where he's taking 25, even 30 face-offs, and he was down to like 9, 11, 12 for a while, and his percent rate was going down. At the same time, his shot totals was dropping 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 0, 0. That's like consecutive games. And so and he wasn't there was times where you think, well, he's going to take this draw, and yet someone else would step into the circle and take it. And not just because the linesman kicked him out, because that only happens 13 times a game, but it was, actually deliberate choice to have someone else taking the draw. So he may have been nursing, like got slashed on his thumb or something, and it just sort of dipped a few of his totals, including his shot rate.
Well, maybe it was still the injury that he had last year, right? From the
Possibly.
evil Mikey Anderson takedown of Draisaitl. He's still getting over that, but he looked healthy tonight. He's looked healthy for the last 2 weeks in a way that he hasn't looked, I think, in about a year. So that's really good to see. Alrighty, any final thoughts, Bruce? Or
real happy to take 2 points away from this game, and now the last game in Toronto. Obviously, you want to win that or get some kind of result from it. To come up with a plus road trip, but at minimum, that they lost the one in Winnipeg so disappointingly, and they scored 5 goals and couldn't win it. And then since then, they've had 3 goals in each of 2 games. It was enough to win with Stu Skinner in the pipe. So one situation on the Oilers has really crystallized, and that's who's the number 1 goalie.
Indeed. Leon got an assist tonight. Yeah, he's got 90
winner.
97 points in 64 games.
Not too bad.
26 power play goals, 15 even strength goals. So,
yeah, that's kind of different.
Yeah. I'd have to look. I didn't break down what he was scoring even strength at other seasons. Bruce, let's leave it there. Thank you for talking tonight.
Right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.